Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse that little noise there. Actually, before I go, I'm just going to make sure that I give you a proper introduction. Because as we all know, introductions are very important. Even Bob Einstein, the great Super Dave Osborne, once said, "What an introduction!" So, I mean, taking that into mind, I wanted to deliver for you. But let me tell you guys, I got a boatload of stuff to talk about, okay? Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been making notes of things that I've thought about that I think deserve the right to make an appearance in one of my vlogs. However, this time around, this ain't no vlog. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first short podcast. Give us a round of applause, because I think this is so popular. Well, not popular, but so profound and prolific in this particular episode that it deserves the right to be called a podcast. Don't worry, the picture is going to flatten out. We're just on a bit of a hill here. Alright. I pulled over specifically to review my notes. So that's actually not quite, yeah. That's better. I wanted it to be straight, just like my sexuality. So again, I was saying that I made a lot of notes for this particular episode. I know that notes are a necessary part of a lot of the great podcasters, you know. It's just, you can't often think of everything that you want to talk about on the spot, and certain things slip your mind over the course of days and weeks. So without further ado, let's get into the thick of it. I also want to point out, I don't know where I'm driving. Like, usually I have a destination in mind. So I just need to make sure that, you know, I'm on route somewhere that I can sort of make a loop out of it, so it doesn't end up... Oh shit, I know where I am. I'm on Sunrise Terrace now, so... Alright, I know what I'm gonna do. But without further ado, so I actually have a note here on pen and paper, you know, because I had it in my notes app on the phone, right? Fucking phones, you know? Yeah, so it turns out you can't record a video and have the notes up at the same time. So what I've done is, in that little parking lot I was in back there, I simply copied everything over the paper, and granted, it's all up in my mind. I got it all up there, don't you worry. It's just to make my mind, you know, remember certain details that I may leave out. So, but one thing I wanted to talk about is the fucking libs and the made-up words, right? We all know about the made-up words. It's just fucking... I hate to say ridiculous, because it's such a boring word for such a context. I think the more appropriate word would be cunty. And the second word I would go for would be testicless. You know what I'm saying there? Lacking clites. An example of one of those words would certainly be misogynistic. Misogyny. I'm gonna go to the spa and get myself a misogyny. You know, go fuck yourself, okay? No one used to say that word. I'll give you that, right? So I know what it means. I'm not telling you that I'm a turd, right? But no one used to say that. You know, I've been around for a few decades now, And I know that when I started hearing that word, it was, probably 2014 at the earliest. It's, the fact of the matter is, it's overused. Certainly there are misogynists. Not sure if it's always a bad thing, though. Because I think that's often misconstrued. But actually, I'm getting off the rails a little bit. But the point is that other words exist too, like dichotomy. I like to call that dichotum. That's when I look at the word in my head, I always think dichotum. Also, I think I'm gonna slow down a little bit. I'm rushing through this like it's a PowerPoint presentation, but I don't have to do that, right? This is a conversation. So, dichotomy. We take a look at the misogynistic dichotomy. It's like look at the dichotomy between how that the female non-playable characters are treated, and as opposed to the heteronormative climate of the misogynistic game players. I like that one. I got heteronormative. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what heteronormative means. I purposely decided not to look it up. Let me fix this. I decided not to look it up because I thought it would be actually more interesting if I didn't know what it meant. I'm gonna say that heteronormative refers to the principle of heterosexual people being who they are biologically inclined to be. In other words, they're fucking normal people, and their normal behavior is, hey, cunt face. They're normal, excuse me, they're another cunt face. Anyway, their normal behavior is being marginalized into something. As Norm Macdonald put it, I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna to get away with that one. I definitely borrowed that from Norm, the marginalized part. But it's true. And that goes hand in hand with the final word that I'm gonna bring up that the libs have made up. And that would be cisgender or cisgendered. This word actually means nothing at all, okay? Because the idea is, I'm cisgendered because I got a cock and balls, and I say that I have a cock and balls. Because nowadays, you can have a cock and balls, but you say that you don't. Oh, I'm a woman. No, you're not. Okay? You may say that you're a woman, you may think you're a woman, you may identify as a woman, but at the end of the day, it's all a load of cow shit. It's a bowl of shit. It's bullshit. Because you have a cock and balls, and God intended for you to stick it in some chick's cunt. So, whatever the case may be in your mind, it's irrelevant and irreverent. But back to the word cisgender. At least I think that's what it means. I can't remember because these libs are fucking mind-numbing to listen to. So, again, what do you got? Cisgender, dichotomy, heteronormative, what's the other one? Misogynistic climate. And I did mention that a bit earlier, but I didn't specify that I was using that. Look at the climate nowadays, you know? We got such a bigoted climate. You know, climate refers to the fucking weather patterns, okay? We got something of a climate nowadays. Thank you. So that wraps up that segment. Moving on. I'd like to talk about the word "dade." Okay. What is the first thing you think of when I say the word "dade"? Because I think of ooh, fuck, that's scary. You know, Miami-Dade County used to be known as Dade County. It occurred to me a couple of weeks ago that the word "dade" scares me. And I don't know why. I thought it was kind of peculiar, to be honest with you. But Dade. It just sounds scary. Miami kind of scares me in a way. But not really. Like, I'd go to Miami. I think it's probably a cool place. You know, I used to love Vice City. But that's part of the thing, you know? Vice City. It's implying that Miami is, you know, a city of vices. And vices can be scary. But Dade, I don't know, it's a very abrupt word, and it's not something I've ever heard before. I just wanted to mention that to you guys. Consider that, you know? Does Dade scare you? And I'm not talking about the place. I'm simply talking about the word here. Dade. Does that scare you? So, moving on. Wanted to tell you a couple of stories here. Both regarding these bitch-ass Asian profs. So, you know, I've had a couple of experiences now at work with these just absolute cunts who are Asian. One is a man, one is a woman. Oh, hey, we got a cocksucker who just decided to pass over a double yellow. So we'll let him be. All right. You see that sign there? It says "Do not pass." Irregardless, moving on. So, the first guy, Frank, you know, that's not his real name, but his real name is too hard to pronounce, so he goes with Frank, right? So, suffice to say, I had to tell him something regarding a job I was doing for him in another building. I happen to see him in this office. Not his office, but an office that he works in sometimes. I knock on the door, and I didn't realize he was on the phone. The phone was on his left ear. I was on the right side of him through the door. I knock on it a couple of times. He gets up, opens it without looking at me, with, you know, standing sideways, kind of just leans over with one hand. You know, you do that. And he opens the door, I go in, and he goes back to his computer and stays on the phone. And he's talking in Chinese. So, you know, it may be an important call. Maybe someone who he doesn't often have a chance to speak with, but, you know, I actually call bullshit on that. He didn't say a word to me. I stood there for 10 minutes, and then I fucking left. He could have said, "Hey, what do you want? This is important, you know, just real quick," or, "Hey, can you come back later, please?" No, he didn't say anything to me. I stood in the office while he was talking, and it got to the point where I had to leave because I didn't know how long he was going to be on the phone. I mean, 10 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, But when you're standing uncomfortably in someone else's office while they talk on the phone, it's a pretty fucking long time. And when I opened the door to leave, he didn't bat an eye or turn around. So I said, well, okay, I was just trying to cover all bases and be a nice guy, tell you what was up. But, no. So then, 3 days later, I'm at the bar, right, with Scott. The fucking guy walks in the bar with 2 other guys. So of course, he's at the table behind me, and I tell Scott the story right there, right in front of the guy. And that's the story of Frank. The other fucker, I'm not gonna name names, but she's also got quite the name. She happens to be a lovely lady, except she's not so lovely. But she's lovely to imagine fucking over the desk. Well, I think she's used that power over a lot of men in the past 5 years. She happens to have a computer with 128 gigabytes of RAM. Now, for those of you non-technical folk, that is, well, let me see here. It's about 8 times what the average computer has. And that's fucking retarded, okay? The point is, we can't afford that, and she doesn't need it. That's the point. It's not to say that, she shouldn't have it strictly based on the fact that it's a lot of RAM. It's just excessive, and she's exploited people. So I got myself into a bit of an issue regarding her computer. I had to basically reinstall Windows because of an issue that she expressly told me to do. I didn't really want to do it, but she told me to do it, right? Well, we go over it. I say I'm going to meet with my supervisors right when I leave. This is now on them. Okay, I'm a student worker. It's not my decision, when this gets done and stuff like that. So it was clear. By the time I get to meet with my supervisor about 40 minutes later, she's already sent out an email to the department chair, the dean of the College of Engineering, and both of my bosses. And she put my name in there. She fucking threw me under the bus. Now, of course, my bosses are cool. They understood, Oh, and I forget the important detail here. Before I left, actually before I even decided to do that issue with the computer, she opens up her drawer, pulls out a $15 Starbucks gift card, and gives it to me. Says that it's necessary for all the trouble I've been going through. So yeah, she fucking bribed me. Not too happy about that. How have I dealt with this in the past couple of weeks? Because, again, this is 2-3 weeks ago now. Well, a couple of my colleagues and I happened to run into her in the building she works in. I was getting out of the stairwell through a door. She was holding a computer in both hands, about to go down the stairwell. I simply walked out of the stairwell and did not hold the door for her and just continued walking. So that's all I've done. Moving on. You guys familiar with portrait mode? A lot of phones have that nowadays. It's like that new mode that kind of automatically adjusts the depth of field to make something look pretty nice, blurs out the background. Well, I think you'll be happy to know that I've used portrait mode on my cock. Yes, I have, ladies and gentlemen, and it came out great. I think it was an excellent shot. and a quite humorous one at that, because I'm sure those devs didn't anticipate me taking a picture of my cock with the portrait mode, but quite nice, gotta say. Quite nice. It's a portrait mode cock. Moving on. The performing arts have not seen anything yet. Shit. It's kind of like that song by Bachman Turner Overdrive, except I just fucked it huge, you know. Dun dun dun, baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Baby, the performing arts ain't seen nothing yet. And obviously, I'm referring to my portrait molded cock. The performing arts ain't seen nothing yet, folks. So, another thing I thought of relatively recently was there's this subconscious idea in my mind that you have a resume of women, right? Like, you know, in the professional world, you have a resume of jobs and education. I like to show future employers what your experience is, you know, what you've done. Kind of trading up, in a sense. You say, I'll give you this experience for this improved job. And, imagine a world where you had a resume and you carried around and you presented it with a woman that you wanted to take out on a date. And she reviewed, you know, the hotness of your previous lovers and certain things about it. And she would then determine if you were worthy to be dating. And hang on, this difficult intersection here. Just gonna take some time to focus on this. All right. God. And now. There we go. All right, so it's partly a joke, but in all reality, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens, or at least happened to me. When I ended my previous relationship, I was thinking, well, now I can put that on my resume at least. You know, it was in the back of my mind that I had to sort of prove that I've had experience with women before to my next woman. Like, you know, here's who I dated. You know, here's what I learned. You know, here's why I left that job and why I'm interested in this job. So, food for thought. You know, a resume of women. And our last detail today in today's short podcast, something called nose guy. So today I had a chicken salad sandwich on white bread for lunch, and I ate it at school in the lab. Now, it's a good food, but much like tuna, you know, it includes some mayonnaise. It's a type of food that if you're looking at something gross or sickening, it can kind of bother you a little bit to eat, kind of make you sick. So I'm about 3/4 of the way done with my sandwich, right? And this kid sits across from me. He comes in and sits down, and I've seen him before. This is the second interaction with him. I saw him last Friday, actually. And what he does is he sounds like he has Tourette's of the nose. Like he can't stop sniffing. guys hear that? Yeah, that's what he fucking does. I'm not exaggerating. It's literally that bad. So he was doing that, and those are okay. They're tolerable at the very least. But then he starts doing these big sniffs randomly every once in a while. He'll be going, and I don't want to do that again because I hate that. It hurts my nose. It's just a terrible thing to do. But he was doing the big sniff, and he obviously had a lot of snots in there. And like, the big sniff was unexpected. You didn't know when the big sniff was going to occur. Well, I of course have a few bites left in my sandwich, and I'm saying, shit, man, this ain't gonna work. Okay, let's say I put that sandwich in my mouth, and he does a big sniff. I'm pretty sure that sandwich is coming straight out. You know what I'm saying? So I can't do this. And then he would like tuck his nose in his fucking hoodie and blow out. Oh God. It was like, God, what did I do wrong today? What did I do to deserve this? It was really sickening. I hated it. So I ended up picking up my fucking sandwich, walking out of the room into the hallway, and just finishing it down the hallway. Oh man, that was infuriating. It was like, fucking stop sniffing! And stop doing the big sniff too! Because the quick sniffs are fucking annoying just because they're quick sniffs. No one sniffs 100 times a minute. But the big sniff was like even more... I mean, the quick sniffs were annoying, but not really gross. But the big sniff was fucking gross. I mean, what? God damn. Dude, So, this has certainly been my longest rambling yet. We're approaching 30 minutes here. It certainly gives me the confidence to be able to run a podcast at some point, because whether you find it interesting or not, I don't give a fuck. It's not about you, it's about me. I enjoy doing this. If you enjoy listening to it, then by all means listen to it. Great. But it's not for you, it's for me. And I want you to remember that. And the fact that I can ramble this long is frankly pleasurable. Next time, hopefully it'd be a bit more planned out. We're working through some kinks here. Not quite sure on the format yet. The dash mount I have may have been extremely vibratory. The video might be extremely shaky. I might have to take YouTube up on that little offer there where they say, hey, shaky video there. You want some help with that? But, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. The primary goal of this is not the video content, it's the audio. If you have something else to be looking at, if you want to play a video game, do whatever you want and listen to this in the background, by all means. Or if, you're a sad fuck who has no life and nothing else to do, then certainly feel free to watch the scenery. We're in the wonderful town of East Longmeadow right now. You can see an emergency vehicle in this old people's home, so, oops. Sorry I forgot to clean your catheter and empty your colostomy bag. For those of you who didn't know, I'm a male nurse by night. Just but I think that's about it. Let's see, boatload lives made up words, day ditch Asian profs, portrait mode cock, performing arts, ain't seen nothing yet, resume of women, and nose guy. Alright folks, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Know that I make my jabs and comments in good fun, and I don't mean any harm by anything I say. And I hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you on the flip side.